Great to see you all. Thanks for getting up early and giving up your time for this. A special Up Next Live. Hopefully you've been enjoying our Up Next broadcast throughout the season. It's been a great privilege to be able to get amongst it and bring those to you. And doubling up, as Martin says this morning, is a Rovers Business Club pre-match breakfast. We will have Martin Vickers and Brian McDermott up here to build up to the game in a few minutes' time. And as Martin says, we do encourage your input. It'd be great to hear any questions you might have for Brian, for Martin, and for the two guys who are going to come and chat to us first, the two players who I will introduce now. Heading into a testimonial year granted by the Rugby Football League, will you welcome Craig Hall, first of all, ladies and gents. And having committed his immediate future to Featherstone, he will be back here next year as well, Jonathon Ford. Great to see you both. First of all, you can share the microphone, although I know, Hawley, you like to hog it, but you know, allow Jono in. You're the opposite, actually, aren't you? How has this week been for you? Martin says we want to focus on the game. We might take half a step back just to see how we've ended up here. But in terms of the build-up to this weekend, how has the week been for you as players so far?
Right, yeah, it's been good. Obviously, it's been long. We've not played a while now since Halifax, so we had a good week last week. Good week, and then Sunday morning training session before presentation, and then I think this week's been very good as well. We've got tonight to finish off, and then we'll go into Sunday just ready to play.
You've had a week off. Do you feel better for it, or would you have rather have ploughed on and powered on through?
Yeah, I'm a plougher. That's me. I plough through. No, I'm easy. I think there was a few knocks around the place, so it'd have been good to have that week off. Some, I didn't get the week off. I trained as always. Me and thought, well, you're a bit 50-50, aren't you? I think some of the lads would have enjoyed it, and some would have just rather cracked on. But we get to go on Sunday.
It's all about, Jono. It's all about the M word, isn't it? This time of year, momentum, finding form, hitting form at just the right time, which is what Brian was able to do to such devastating effect at Leeds during his dynasty there. You've been here, you've done it. You were here with Toulouse at this time of year. Just give us a sense as a player of what this time of year is like.
Yeah, it's just about, like you said, building momentum. Just sort of, it's refining, building your belief. From where we, started from. Everyone's come from different positions, and then just building, and then, hopefully getting it right on game day. But just, building belief and having that within each other, within your group, and within yourself. So that's about it. And then enjoying it and having a bit of fun. That's why we all play footy for fun. So those two, just having fun and having that belief.
How do you make sure it's still fun when at this time in the year there is so much at stake?
For me, I enjoy just like the little, just working on little plays, little things, that you can keep building on. Working on combos, that's fun for me. Playing footy's just fun for me. So, and as much as I can train and that too, I enjoy that as well. So, it's quite easy for me to have fun. If I'm out there running around and doing what I love, it's pretty easy.
And do you feel, building up to this big game against Batley, do you feel, and I've asked you this quite a lot recently, that when you've been in the side and when you've been a frustrated observer with the knocks and the bumps and bruises you've had, have you felt like you've been watching this team catch fire a bit, gel, start to get it, as your coach has said a lot recently, starting to get it at just the right time?
Yeah, 100%. We sort of committed, to each other, and we had a few things going on behind the scenes, and that's building that belief. And I think as that grows and our confidence grows within ourselves and each other, then you can, you take steps on top of that, and you build on top of that, and you start stacking days. And as by the time you get to, the pointy end of the season, and hopefully get to the big dance, we're good to go. So yeah, we've been stacking well, and we'll see how we go.
Have you sensed that, Hawley, a kind of evolution as the season's gone on? I guess both personally for you, an up and down year, but also the team coming through everything it has. I know there were a lot of learnings from London, and hitting this game at the weekend against Batley. Have you seen it as a progress and a journey?
Yeah, I think we started really well beginning of the year, and then we had a bit of a dip. But I think that went along with the injuries that we had to some key players in the team, forwards especially. I think it took to about round 23 until we got the same team back to back. Everything was changing every week, and it was losing people. People was coming back, different positions. So I think people are pretty settled where they are now. It's just it's a job for Mac now to pick the right team for Sunday.
And let's talk about Sunday then, shall we? And I mean, looking around, it looks beautiful. I mean, we've been blessed with a beautiful morning this morning, haven't we? The pitch looks immaculate. Stadium as ever looks great. Martin's already said this room is going to be packed out. With you guys, and hopefully the four stands outside packed around as well. We know how much of a lift that roar and that fan base gives. On the pitch, how do you make sure you get it right against a team that you've had a few problems with this season for one reason or another?
Yeah, well, it's just about doing our own job, innit? Obviously, different positions have different jobs, and it's about everyone just working together for like 80 minutes. I don't think we've put a decent 80 minutes together for quite a while. So these next two games, that's what it's there for. Tickets go. I'm at the stadium quite a bit, and the amount of people that have been coming in getting tickets, and like Martin said, went to Featherstone. Jesse, I've took them all around schools yesterday, so hopefully there'll be a massive crowd for Sunday afternoon.
I'm trying to remember, Johnny, if you played in any of the Batley games this year.
No, I haven't. Yeah.
So a fresh challenge for you.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I played against them a lot in my time, so hopefully I can add my little bit to build where we want to be.
When you have the week off that you've just had, do you pay much attention to the Halifax York game and the Barrow Batley game, or do you just check the results afterwards and see who you're playing?
Oh, everyone's different. Some people like to get in and watch a bit of video. Some people just sort of let it ride. It's whatever makes some players. Everyone ticks differently. So I watched a little bit, caught up on a little bit of footage and stuff, but also just focus on my own stuff as well. Control what I can control, and the rest will take care of itself.
What kind of notice did you take of it all? A lot of people would have expected, or maybe even have been preparing for the fact that it would have been Halifax coming back here, and then suddenly it wasn't at all.
Yeah, well,
season's done.
I don't have Premier. I wasn't going to. So I didn't watch it. I was just keeping up on score on Twitter, to be honest. Just see who we play. Obviously York went there. Nobody expected them to win. They've gone there. They've won. So we play Batley, and like I say, we've not had the best of games with them this year. So we own one.
And was that the results that came with that, the two away sides winning, was that a kind of reminder that actually anything can happen at this point of the year? Kind of what's gone on in the season largely is irrespective of what happens in the 80 minutes as we're going to see here on Sunday. It's about making sure you get it right.
Yeah, that's it. You just got to get it right. Everybody's got to do the jobs, like I've just said. I think if we do that, then we'd win the game. And personally, I think it'll be comfortable if everybody turns up and does their job. I'm really looking forward to it, to be honest. We've done quite a lot of work looking forward to, obviously playing Lee in the final. We need to play Batley first, we need to beat them, and then we need to go beat Lee. Simple as that.
I want to ask a couple more questions of you both in a sec. I just want to open it out to the floor before we do that, and then we'll bring up Brian and Martin in due course as well. Anyone in the room, any thoughts, anything you want to throw at these two gentlemen while they are here this morning, having rolled out of bed bright and breezy for us all? Yes, mate. Yeah, is it a different preparation, given that you might have anticipated playing Halifax, and in fact it's a Batley side?
Yeah, for sure, it's a little bit different. We're looking at a different team, so some things will stay the same. Obviously, we've got some systems and structures in place that'll stay the same, and then there's little intricacies that will change because we're looking at another team. So some change, some stays. So yeah.
Any other thoughts, feelings, questions about the game, about the season, about anything, about life? No? I think you've got off lightly here, boys. Be interesting to see if Brian gets a few more. We'll get Brian and Martin up in a sec. Just on you, John, while you've got the microphone in your hand, you've committed for next year. We sat the other week, last week or the week before, I lose track of time, and chatted about that, but you were very, very 100% committed to this is where I want to be next year, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time. I'm settling now, which is good. It's taken a bit of time to settle into sort of the whole thing of moving and getting into life over here. But I'm settling into the team, into my life here really well, and I'm feeling well. So I'm enjoying it. Mrs. is happy. Like I said, everyone's really nice. They say hello on the street, say g'day. Just passing by. It's just yeah, it's good.
Yeah. It's nice that when people are friendly and say hello to you, isn't it? I lived in London for a long time, and you don't get that down there, I can assure you.
Well, it's a bit different in France too, so. But it's good. Yeah, everyone says they get nicer up north, so who knows? I've not done much travelling over this side of the world yet, so coming into off-season stuff, I'll get around a bit. And
where are you going to go? Where do you want to explore?
I don't know. I'm just asking everyone what's
Castleford.
I've explored a little bit there. I'm not far. I live at Ponty, so.
Holy.
I'm open to anything, so yeah, I just sort of, I'm just happy to, get around and experience, what the North England's got going on. So.
Well, I know everyone is absolutely made up. You're gonna be here next year as well. Final one from you, Hawley, before we let you two guys go. I mentioned at the top your testimonial year granted by the RFL. How did that feel? What kind of recognition? What does it make you feel like as a long-term servant to the game to get that kind of pat on the back?
Yeah, it's nice. I just want to put some events on that can have a laugh and enjoy. First dinner will be in November, and hopefully we've confirmed Volkia to have a friendly in January, which will be fantastic. And the community are already getting involved. We shot half a naked calendar down the lane the other day. West Yorkshire Autos is coming up next week. We've got to take Briss there. He want too well, so he's going to get his kit off at the garage. It's fantastic. Everybody's really looking forward to it. All the boys are putting their hand up for the naked calendar, ladies' nights and whatnot, so I don't think I have to ask them too much. But yeah, it's great. Obviously, I've been around for a while now. I think I'm 3 games off 350, which I didn't really realise until the other week. Obviously 2 this year, so if we're 350th next year's walking out with Featherstone Super League, it'd be fantastic.
Well, let's hope so. Thanks as always for your time this morning, guys. Craig Hall and Jonathon Ford. Thank you, boys. Let's bring up the Chief Executive, Martin Vickers, and the Head Coach, Brian McDermott, ladies and gentlemen. Martin, you must get quite a sense of pride when you listen to players you employ and pay to go out and do a job to speak with the kind of pride that these two guys have done, not just this morning but throughout the season.
Yeah, I think that we talk a lot about this group of players, and we talk a lot about the culture that's existed at Featherstone for 2 or 3 years, but I think this year the support I get in my job and the off-field team getting the job from players is second to none. Jono was at Ponty Market on Wednesday, along with Mark Corella. Craig is out there every day in the community, and some of those things. The good thing about Featherstone is the things we do are for real. They're not gimmicky. And if the greatest compliment I could give to the players is they've been part this year of 30,000 engagements with school kids this year, that they have worked for the first time in years with Featherstone Academy and St Wilfrid School, that next week they'll be hosting on this pitch next Friday a big World Cup tournament that includes every primary school in Featherstone. So these things hadn't been done at this club for several years. We took our eye off the ball, and at the end of the day, I can't do those things without the stars of this team. So, in answer to your question, they've been superb, and and I'm sure they will be on Sunday on the field as well.
Last time we sat in this room at a Rovers Business Club pre-match breakfast was before you all got on the coach. Well, actually, you drove down, didn't you, on your own? But everyone else got on the coach going down to London. You were full of bluster about how we were going to do it. Then you had a bit of an argument with the man sitting to your left. He said, rein it in a little bit, Martin. We've got a game to win here. How are you feeling ahead of this big game this weekend?
I've learned from that experience. Look, I'm a fan. You know, I spend a lot of hours at this club, but for those 80 minutes on Sunday, I'm as anxious and nervous as anybody, but I do have a great deal of faith and trust in Brian and the playing group that he's got around them. I've seen over this last 6 weeks how hard they've been working, how focused they've been. There's been a real edge around how they've been playing, and although Craig said they want to do that over 80 minutes, I've seen some real step change in how they've been playing, particularly defensively. And I've been here before with Brian. It was the semi-final against Toulouse with Toronto, and I was feeling as nervous and jittery as I was now, and they just blew Toulouse away. And whilst this game will be different on Sunday, you know, we put great faith in the coaching staff, Brian's leadership, and the playing group. You know, and I'm confident they will deliver. You know, and there's no bluster about it. That's how I feel. I feel we'll be in that grand final, but please, we've got a big task on our hand with Batley.
Just a footnote on what Martin was saying there about how nervous and anxious he gets. Just going back to London, I actually watched the game with him on the Rovers bench, because the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the benches are massive because football squads are so big. So we just sat there and watched it. It wasn't a pleasant experience, was it, Martin? Didn't say a word for 80 minutes, and then off he went. Didn't see him again for 2 weeks after that.
Yeah, I'm not the best of losers, to be honest. I can remember when Toronto got beat to London. I was in my hotel room 10 minutes after the hooter, and my hotel was 2 miles away from the ground. And then I realised, no, that's probably not the best the best way of losing, Martin. And I hurriedly made my way back. But it's that's we all put our heart and soul, from Mark Campbell down right through to people working on the media day today. We work really hard. I don't think as a club, I don't think we get the respect we deserve across the game. I think the only place where we get the respect is in this room, in this stadium. You know, and I like it that way in some way, but then I see awards nights where there's not a Featherstone name mentioned other than Sam Essay on the junior side. I see lots of talk about Super League and who'll be in next year, and very little talk about this club. And this club should be a model to the rest of the game. You know, it's not somebody with a multi-millionaire owning it. It's a club that gets there just through rolling its sleeves up. And I'm very proud to be part of that, and our heart and soul I'll be throwing into it, but I'll still be taking Craig's pizzas into the changing rooms 20 minutes before the end. You know, that's how it is here. Yeah.
Brian, there's a lot of things I want to ask you, but just to pick up on what the last point Martin made, is that something you felt as a head coach, that this place, this club, this team perhaps doesn't get the respect outside of it that it might deserve? Does that kind of thing register on your radar, or does it not bother you at all?
I'm not. I don't know what gets said out there, so I don't look at anything in the news, so I wouldn't know. I do know that the clubs that it just won't sit back and allow things to be said or done and sit in its hands, you know, and the owner and maybe the chief exec will make a phone call and will stand up for itself. You know, they'll fight for the club, and if that means it upsets one or two people. I know that's gone on in the past, but I don't think it's the wrong thing to do, by the way, because you've got, you know, there's a shitload wrong with the game at the moment, and has been for 10 years, well over 10 years. And those who don't say anything, they're complicit in the game not being where it should be. But whether, you know, who says what about Featherstone currently, I don't know, because I don't look at the news.
Going back then to to Martin's first point about the pride he has felt watching what the players have invested and committed to this season, which we hope has 2 games and 2 wins left in it. You've seen that firsthand as head coach, so give this room a sense of what you've felt at what the players have given you this year.
So in build up to that 1895 final, we had at least a month's worth of preparation for the 1895 final. We knew that to beat Leigh in the final, we had to do things differently. We couldn't just have the same game plan that we'd use against Batley or against Halifax or against Dewsbury. There's 2 competitions going on at the moment. There has been all year. One of them would be to beat some very good championship teams, and then when you play Leigh, you've got to play a different game, and they're absolutely out on their own. You know, a different entity completely because of the recruitment that's gone on with them over the last 18 months, 2 years. They were in Super League next year, and they've enhanced their squad since they've been in Super League. So for the 1895 final, I purposely used a strategy of playing which didn't really suit the opposition that weekend, knowing full well that for us to go beat Leigh, we had to have some muscle memory of doing something different. So by the time we played them, we're good at that strategy. And that meant that we probably didn't score as many points against a team that we should have maybe put 40 or 50 on. That doesn't do you any good, by the way, anyway, about putting 40 and 50 on a team or putting 60 on a team. It does you no good whatsoever. You don't learn anything. It creates bad habits. It's something you don't want to do. But the disparity of spending in this competition means that's what happens. So we beat Bradford down here 50s once. We beat Whitehaven 70s at Widnes. I think we beat 70s. It hurts you. It just hurts your prep. It hurts what you do. And then we got to the 1890 final and bombed out. We didn't play well at all. And that rattles the group. It rattled our group. And we knew we were fair ways off Leigh. So, one of the things you can do is just be very, very good against Batley and Halifax and Dewsbury and Widnes. And just be very good against them. And let's cross our fingers and hopefully we get it right against Leigh when we play them. That's not for me. That's not how it should be. Because our task is to get into Super League. That might not be everybody else's desire, and there might be some people in the stand or in the club that probably don't want to be in Super League. Maybe, I don't know, or they want to be a genuine, good championship team. But the actual remit of this club is to get into Super League. That's what I was brought on board for. And to get into Super League, we need to beat Leigh. So that strategy, that build-up for the final was, on reflection, it rattled us a little bit for a few weeks after. We played Leigh 2 weeks after that and again bombed out. So once it calmed down, in the fallout from that 1895 final, we then go through a period where we lose all our props. I think we don't have any props for about 2 or 3 weeks. We put Junior up front, who's always been a back rower all his career. So as a team, we've rattled this year, and as a team, we haven't got everything right. But I said at the start of the year publicly, we probably need to lose 1 or 2, possibly 3 games this year for us to win a grand final. To win the grand final to get promoted, because Featherstone lost 2 games last year. They were against Toulouse. My opinion, it was a poor comp last year because the comp came out of COVID and everybody was still trying to put themselves together after COVID, and the 2 strongest teams of the competitions were the 2 most stable teams, which was Toulouse and Fev. And I'm not sure what lessons Featherstone learned last year, because they were scoring 40s and 50s every single week, and everybody had a good feel about it because you're scoring so many points. But when you play Toulouse last year, it was a different comp. It was a different game. It's played on a different level. Yet they completely got used to the level below of putting 40s and 50s in everybody. So long-winded, we've been planning to get through to the grand final and beat Leigh. I'm not saying we're going to get there, and yes, we've got to pay Batley some respect and we've got to do the job on Sunday. But there's a strategy been in place now for a long time to try and get to the grand final and play Leigh, and that means we probably shave off some of our weekly qualities, and it prevents us from scoring 60s.
From your perspective, Martin, listening, absolutely fascinating to hear the head coach talking like that. And you and Mark just want to win games every week. So how hard is that to take on board what Brian is saying there? And you need a few defeats along the way, because that's how you learn.
Yeah, well, Brian's communicated well through the year on his approach, and whilst we haven't had that many defeats to deal with, in fairness, have we? We only lost once at home and once away. So yeah, Brian's taught us through not just his strategy, just his approach with individual players. He does that most games, So yeah, and regardless of what, I think something that kind of gets overlooked here this season, as much as this might not be music to Brian's ears after what he's just said, they scored the most points ever in the league season that this club's ever scored. And if I asked a fan out there about comparisons, say, with this year and last year, we put more 60s past, we scored more points this year than last year, the most in the club's history. So that's the thing that I often think gets a bit overlooked here, that I heard somebody say the other day that Lee are the best team that's been in the Championship for 20 years, and quite rightly, they are a strong team, but this team is doing pretty well as well. And so yeah, look, we've had bumps along the way. We've had performances where we've won but not played well. But actually, the first person who's kind of been really honest and with his assessment is always Brian in his post-match interview with you, who probably says the things that most of us thought, and so he hasn't just been honest with myself and the chairman about the approach. He's been honest with the supporters as well, in terms of his feedback on where we are. And yeah, I think it's fair to say, Brian, in terms of those communications, I'm trying to leave things alone. Brian's got bigger things on his plate than talking to me about things. So we trust that he'll get those things right. He's very good at what he does.
We'll take, if there are any questions in the room for these guys, hopefully there are, we'll take them in just a sec. Just let's touch on Sunday, Brian. Some of the indifferent results this year have been against this weekend's opponents in Batley. You beat them away in the Cup, drew away in the league, and lost here on what wasn't a great day here, was it, for whatever reason. What have you learnt from playing Batley that you hope to get right this weekend?
Yeah, well, they're a really awkward team. They're a really good attacking team. They've if the coach needs any credit, he's really made them hum together attacking wise, and they know what they're doing with the ball. They're a better attacking team than Halifax, but what we see is that they're not quite as tenacious defensively as Halifax. Halifax are a real tenacious team defensively, hard to break down Halifax because they don't stop running for each other. So they're a bit of a different challenge there. We'd have to be really good defensively this week to get the job done. There's always a version of us that could get beat, and we've got to prep that way we don't bring that version out on Sunday. So you can't manage it every single week. You can't do that for 25 plus games a year. You're going to be ropey, and you should be ropey for some of those, because if you're chasing 10 out of 10 every single week, you'll bomb out at the end of the year. That's just a fact. You just look at history of sport. So you've got to work out as the coach of the team or the leader of the group, which ones do you want to be scratchy on? Which ones will you allow the team to be? And if you can try and control some of that as well. I know that sounds like a bit of the Illuminati, like I'm trying to control the outcome of games. I'm not, but there's some games where you've got to press the gas down, and you're going to be good, and you're prepped to be good. Now, you're not going to do that round 5. You're not going to do that round 15. And if part of watching the group find themselves through the year means we lose against Batley at home, that's what you've got to do. That's how it is. You've got to, again, it depends what philosophies you've got in life. If you're one of the winners in life and you call yourself a winner, and I hear people talk about in sport where he's just a winner, I think it's bullshit. I don't think anybody learns through winning. These are my philosophies. It may be different for some other people. You truly learn when you don't get it right. You truly learn when it's broken. You truly learn when you fail at something. Genuinely learn, then it's long-term learning as well. It's not just short-term learnings. So you've got to be confident enough as a coach, and you've got to instill confidence in your team that we'll go and do this. It may not work, but let's have a crack at this. And if it doesn't work, then you go review it, you fix it, you build it back up again, and you're even better than what you were before. So I'm more than aware that people don't want to watch a losing team. That's just a fact. And I'm more than aware that the losses that we've had this year, it's been alarming for some people. It hasn't been alarming for me, and I don't think it's been alarming for the group, although I have been known to kick one or two tables or kick one or two boxes this year in reaction to an half-time performance. But Batley are a good team, and they have the ability to be. There's a bit of humility, and I think the thing with Featherstone this year, I think we've got humility that we are allowed to get beat, and we can be beat, and we know we can be ugly as a team, and we already know that now. So I don't think anybody's guessing about what it could look like on Sunday. We know what it could look like on Sunday if we don't bring that version of ourselves out there, which weirdly gives me confidence.
It's interesting on that point about learning most from your biggest setbacks. Spoke to the great Paul Wellens yesterday ahead of the grand final tomorrow, where he's assistant coach at Saints now, and he believes that a big reason for their current dynasty is the fact that they lost all those games to you. They lost those 4 finals in 5 years. They lost 5 finals in a row overall. He thinks they've learned so much from that experience, the likes of him as assistant coach, Roby still in the team, and that's kind of laid the platform to create the mentality and whatever they've done right at Saints to get where they are now.
So Bradford Bulls went through a period of not winning anything, and went through a period of getting to finals and losing, and getting through a period when they switched from Northern to Bulls. You're going back some years now, but it's all relevant. And they bombed out in the first couple of years, Bradford, as the new Bradford Bulls team, because they were putting some things in place, and then got to some finals and lost, and it was very painful, and then became a real dominant team. And then you mentioned the Saints team, and then Leeds, who went through the period in the mid-90s and late 90s, they were threatening to be a good team, but they could never quite nail it, and got to some finals and lost. Those that win straight away and are lucky enough to win without going through any experiences, it won't stay there. It will be sustained, I guarantee you. Again, just look through the history of sport. So, I think that's a good call from Paul Wellens. I recognise that.
Really, really fascinating chat. We'll get a final word from Martin Vickers in just a moment. If there are any questions, any thoughts, anything you've heard, anything you want to ask Brian or Martin, guys, while they're here with us this morning? That's an interesting point. Could it be counterproductive for some of Lee's players to go up because they might lose a contract?
Well, I don't think we've got any quota problems because it's just like myself personally. I went to Scotland for a couple of weeks, so I'm planning to be Scottish. I went when I was 4. So I don't know. Lee have a style of play that I don't think necessarily changes because of that. I'm pretty sure they'll be focused and geared up for the game, and the same strong League team will be in that final. If that is the case, that could well be every club has that issue at this time of year. We will have players who will be moving on, players who will be staying but not in the team, who will be frustrated, and so these are all things that the club, the football side of things, have to manage, and I'm sure it'll be no different for Lee than it is for us. But it'd be nice to get a couple of those Lee players signed up for next year before the final.
Any other thoughts, any other questions from the floor? No, I think we're good.
There must be one question.
Here we go. Yeah, so recruitment has been pretty solid. Most of the squad tied down. What about potential new arrivals to top up what we've got already?
Well, obviously we've got a real challenge budgeting, planning for 2 existences, Super League and Championship. Just to give you, being realistic about this, your distribution in the Championship, the money that you get out of broadcasts, last month was £9,000 for this club. In Super League, it's 1.6. It's 200 grand. So that's the scenario that, there's no point us kind of saying, right, we're going to sign A, B, C and D in Super League. But we're prepared to do. We've got a really good off-field team. We've got a head coach who knows the way around the game, as I think's been demonstrated this year. In terms of acquisitions like Jono and Joey and so on. And we'll be ready to step up if that's the case. And if we are in the Championship, we're blessed with. This is different to last year. We're blessed with many of the squad already being signed up. Would we look to add more in the Championship? Yes, we would. But we've got to be very conscious of not just sustaining our place and improving on it, but also the balance of our squad. We have to. We've got. It's obvious that we've got an older pack. People may choose to leave and move on as well. So in answer to your question, I can give you an assurance that we're not just waiting for a grand final. We would have, in your words, irons in the fire to move forward. Yeah.
Anything else, guys? Final words then, Mr. Vickers, perhaps. I always like Martin Vickers' rallying cry. So give us a final words about what you want this weekend to look like.
Well, look, there's a couple of things that just would like to firstly say. There's people in the room who've backed the club just in the last couple of weeks, and I just so I don't want to do a disservice to any. Most of you have kind of invested money into the club this year, but Hanson Garages, we're in the process of putting lots of signage up. The team will be proud to wear your name on the warm-up kit. RG Carpet sponsored awards last week. They sponsored the golf day. We have Duncroft, who are sponsoring the match. We've got DS Smith right after this, who are putting a defibrillator just in the stadium, which, as we've known through our own experiences and your personal experiences this year, it's an absolute essential thing for us to have. So the thing I like about this club, George, is that people don't just sit on their hands. They when they say they back the club, they throw their whole selves into it, and I think it's great credit to those businesses and the others in the room who I've not mentioned. In terms of the rallying cry, this is a semi-final that could take this club into its third successive £1 million game. We're very lucky to be in that position. We're very lucky to have only lost 2 games this year. We're very fortunate to have a group of lads and a coaching staff that have put the effort in this year. They've put unbelievable effort and hard work into it. And when I mentioned earlier about the team not getting the respect, it's certainly that is not the case within inside these 4 walls of this stadium. We need to be as loud and proud as we can on Sunday. You see the work we've done. We're out every day. We're probably putting illegal signs jackets all over Featherstone at the moment, and Ackworth and everything else. They don't come through people just really working, without people working really hard. And I see where the numbers are on sales. We've sold 1,000 tickets. I need that to be 3,000 or 4,000 this week. The people who are saying, well, I'm a season ticket holder and I have to pay for this. It's 20 quid in one of the biggest games in this club's recent history, So I'm told Batley will be packing it out. That's 2 minibuses, I believe. But I'm also told that Batley the lads were very pleased that it wasn't Lee. Why is that? Because they are in for a really warm welcome, I think, on Sunday, and I need you all to back these guys in getting us over the line.
Martin, as ever, thank you. Final word, Brian, for you. Are you looking forward to the weekend?
Yeah, I am. I've really enjoyed coaching the team this year. Really looking forward to the challenge. It's a big challenge, and there's a chance we could lose, right? A chance we could lose, and that gives you an edge, and that probably brings out the best in the team. So, I've really enjoyed the year. I've drove home sometimes after training thinking, wow, we're not that good a team just yet, and you know, it's not just going to take care of itself, and we've got to start digging a bit deeper and try and find some answers, and especially when, you know, the starting pack was so decimated, and it had been decimated for like a 3-month period, and you're trying to work out a way of playing without the go forward or that defensive bite that your front rowers give you. And I like that. I like finding solutions to problems. You don't want too many problems, you know, coming your way. But I think the players have been tremendous. Really enjoyed coaching them. Some of them won't be in the team. Some of them I haven't picked. I'll give me rationale for every decision that I've made. And even though they're not happy with it and probably disagree with it, they all conduct themselves with incredible dignity. You know, they've got a fair amount of class about them. And I like being part of the group. I like being around them. So I think at this time of the year, game plans are important, and where you attack on the field and how you're going to defend is important. But what's more important is that thread that brings you together as a team. And that thread can't just be what you do when you've got your ball in hand at training. It's got to be about how you conduct yourself with each other throughout the year, whether it be on and off the field. So, you know, I endorse what Martin's saying. There's been a tremendous amount of support inside the organisation, inside the club. I think the fans have been fantastic. I don't particularly have a relationship with the fans, but that's not for sinister reasons. I think that should go on between the players. But I do recognise that the fans have been awesome, especially the away travelling fans. And I was just in the corner shop round the corner the other day trying to get a coffee. He's broke his coffee machine, so I'm really struggling for a coffee when I come into work. And I just mooched in there and I was wandering up and down the aisle. It's the most busiest shop ever. And this guy, this old fella, he must have been 107, said, well, his version of saying hello was, and I went, hello. And he went, I never thought you'd lasted this long, you know. But he said it with the right smile on his face, you know, and there was a bit of banter in there. So really enjoyed the year, really enjoyed being part of the club, really enjoyed the time I spent with the players. I've learnt a shitload about coaching as well. It's good when you keep learning, don't you? So I think we're in the right good spirit. We're in a real good headspace to get over this last challenge before we get to the grand final.
Brian, it's always a pleasure, and thanks very much for your time this morning. Martin Vickers, same to you as well. Ladies and gents, Brian, Martin, and as well to Craig Hall and Jonathon Ford for their time this morning. And thank you as well for your continued support, everyone in this room. Thanks for attending this morning's Rovers Business Club pre-match breakfast, and thank you to you at home for watching this Up Next Live. We'll see you Sunday. Thanks again.